Good morning. Welcome to this week's episode of the Anakazi Online Conversation. My name is Zondiwe Chenda. I'm a Senior Relationship Manager here at Stanbic Bank Zambia. Today, we'll be discussing entrepreneurial resilience, adapting to the new normal. My guest on the show is Chisala Simachembele. Chisala Simachembele is a founder, she's a director, she's a proprietor, she's the owner of Pinnacle Creations. It's an event designer company dealing with event design, deco and management. Chisala is a seasoned entrepreneur who has been in the business for over 14 years. Other than being an entrepreneur, she is a mother of 4 lovely children and she's also a wife. Welcome to the show, Chisala.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
We're pleased to have you, Chisala. Chisala, tell us more about Pinnacle Creations.
So Pinnacle Creations, as you rightly said, is 14 years now, going on to 15. Our main line of business is event design and floral design. So when we talk about events, we're talking about any celebration, be it a social celebration, a corporate celebration, anything that involves celebrations, we are involved in.
Okay. So it's been a good journey for 15 years, eh?
It's been an amazing journey. I started from home and over time we've evolved. We now have our own employees. We now have a business premises, which is part of the evolution of actually being an entrepreneur because you literally have to grow. And we now have 5 employees, both on the Copper Belt and Lusaka. Yeah, so I think we've really grown over time. Yeah.
That is awesome to know.
Yeah.
Talking about over time, we're in unprecedented times at the moment. I'm sure your business has been impacted by the government measures in terms of social distancing, the number of obviously clientele you can have at your gatherings. How have you adapted? How are you coping with, these new government measures in place?
Yeah, obviously it's been a challenge because I strongly feel that the events and hospitality industry have been the hardest hit by COVID-19. It's something that nobody expected, and even when it started, we all thought, oh, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
But here we are, 6 months, 7 months down the line, it's still here with us. And obviously there's been regulations in the effort to see to it that guidelines are being followed and so on. But in the event space, yes, we've had to limit how many people can be in a gathering. And some of the things that we've had to do, in terms of like social distancing, is looking at, like the dimension of the room, and how many people can sit in one room. And obviously, these are things that we've had to have conversations with our clients. And I know that people still want to celebrate, but I can say that it's been a challenging time, but we've still found a way around it. I don't think celebrations should be cancelled. All you have to do is conform to the new normal and accept the new guidelines. And some of the guidelines, the advised number is actually 50 people in a room. And obviously, even as you do your guest list, you have to make sure that you have everybody's phone number, home address, contact details, just in case there's contact, it's easy to trace back everybody that was invited to your event.
Okay.
So those are some of the things. And then also the 1 meter spacing. How many people are we going to sit on a table? How is the service going to be done? Because obviously you don't want people exchanging glasses and jars and so on. So it goes down to even, like the catering staff. How are they going to serve the food? So it's really like to the very last detail. Everything has to be thought through very carefully so that you are not violating the government regulation. Yeah, just to make sure that even that your guests are safe and you yourself are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's very interesting to note. Yeah. Obviously you've had to change the way you do your business, the way you do your setup. Can it be argued that this COVID-19 is a temporal problem? But obviously businesses are not temporal, they're permanent. So I must imagine you've had to make so many adjustments. You've had to adapt to the so-called new normal to get things done in the right way. I guess this new normal, how we come out of the pandemic, will be a testament to how resilient one is as a business. And I can imagine you as an entrepreneur that's at the core of your business. How do you survive now? How do you see yourself out of the situation? What have you done to sort of ring fence, to sort of protect, to make sure that you're resilient, to make sure that you adapt in this kind of situation and you come out standing upright after this whole pandemic is over, which I'm sure at some point it will have to be.
Obviously a business cannot come to an end because over the years, I'll speak from the perspective of Pinnacle Creations. We've grown and we've taken on employees, we've taken on other financial obligations, and so we cannot just close shop on account of COVID. But again, I've had to personally go back to the drawing board and look at how I have done business in the past and the best way for me to do it going forward. It's been, in the downtime, it's been time to sit back and reflect and go back and just see how best can I survive, how best can I keep my staff. Some of the things have been renegotiating my staff contracts, like putting some staff on temporary basis, so that, again, they don't go hungry because they depend on this. So those are some of the things that I've done. So it's been also looking at what other streams of income can I create within my business. So we've scaled up a bit more on hire, which we never used to do. So we are still getting an income. Basically, it's been going back to the drawing board and revisiting your vision and seeing the best way forward. How best can I adapt? And I must say that we are slowly adjusting as a business. We've obviously have to put some stuff on part-time now and just keep a few key members of staff. And then even then, they don't come into work every day because now the events we still have events going on, but they're smaller. So I don't have staff coming in on every job. But for me, the important thing is I cannot close shop and I can't throw these people on the street. They've over time, they've become family. But we sit down as a team and we say, look, guys, things are bad. How best can we do this? Can you work 2 times in a week this month? Can you work 3 times in a week this month? We're basically sharing the load.
And I'm glad you put it that way because obviously even from us as a service provider, financial services provider, as a bank, we look at our clients as our partners. We become family in a way. Obviously, we share the burden with you. And obviously, we try to understand our clients the best we can. And I'm sure that's the same thing that you're doing, understanding your clients, understanding your staff, and finding measures and ways in which, you can make it work and see yourself through this kind of pandemic, which is exemplary. I'm sure, you're doing a good job out of it, which is, it's awesome. We've come to adapt to this new normal. We're doing things differently, like you've said, some people are on part-time. It's the same thing with the bank. I mean, banking hours have changed. We've, been closing at least an hour earlier. In the recent past, we've seen an increased use of our digital platforms, even including new sign-ons. So obviously, we've also had to adapt as a bank in the way we do business. Just like you, we have people working from home as well, but the wheels need to keep turning. And we know you as an entrepreneur, you're the driver of this economy. Our entrepreneurs are the drivers of the economy. So we appreciate everything that you're doing. Maybe you could just shed more light on your entrepreneurial journey, how you've journeyed as Pinnacle Creation as an entrepreneur, especially from the start of this COVID pandemic to where we are today, and probably how you see yourself going forward, coming out of this kind of new era.
Okay. Obviously, like we've said, it's nothing that we thought would happen. I was personally looking at 2020 as like a launch pad for other things, maybe workshops, maybe training. But everything just came to a standstill. But one thing that I have done that has also helped me is continued self-investment in education. There's so much on the online platform to learn and to just see how other people are doing it. And obviously from the time we started, events have become bigger now, because like 10, 15 years ago, we didn't even have the social media platform to show our work. It was based on referral. And I think that is where we are actually going back. It's taking us back to, how have you run your business over time? Integrity has been the one thing that will save you, because people always look back at how you delivered and they'll say that person did this, Pinnacle did our event like this. And it's more of word of mouth that is keeping us going. Obviously, big weddings, big events are not available now. So we are now doing smaller dinner parties, very intimate celebrations, and we're still going on. But I also know that we are going towards virtual events. Yeah, and it's going to be a challenge, but it's something that we have to tap in if we have to stay alive. Yeah, we definitely have to tap in. There's now drive-through events. So I would say that the best way forward for ourselves is to continue investing in ourselves education-wise, so that we know, like what's the next big thing. Because really closing shop is not an option.
No, it's not. I'm glad you've talked about investing in yourself. When I look at your profile, Chisala, you've attended the South African School of Weddings. You've attended Xavier Coates Flower School. You've attended the Anakazi Entrepreneurship Training Program. You really consider that you have to invest in yourself as an entrepreneur. Shed more light on your training, on your self-investment. What can you share with us and our viewers out there?
Yeah. I think that, and I believe that self-investment is the most important thing you can do for yourself as an individual and as a business. When I started, there was really no education whatsoever for my line of business, for the events business, unless you went to school and did a degree in marketing or public relations. But I started my business from home as a stay-at-home mom. And so I had to start now looking at what are the best ways of me doing what I do better. And when I went to like SS School of Weddings, it was an eye-opener to realize that there's so much education out there, and you just have to choose, like which parts of education do you want to enhance. And obviously the type of education I've done has varied from skills training to academic. Yeah, and obviously as you go on, you begin to see what areas are lacking in your business, what are you failing to deliver, what don't you know in your business. And those are the things that prompted me to keep doing, these different trainings. So where I felt I was lacking, I looked for, like, is there a course or a workshop in this particular field? Yeah, and I really appreciate Stanbic and the Anakazi Banking, because one of the trainings that I've done locally, I haven't done much training locally, but one of the ones that have become so valuable to me is the Anakazi Banking, the workshop that was held for entrepreneurs, and it sort of took me back, especially on the professional side of things, because I now had to revisit my business plan, how do I source funding? And, those are things that, I would do from the layman's point of view. But then it was just an eye-opener to say, look, if I'm going to, venture into the corporate world, because events are still in the corporate world. And obviously, sometimes if you started your business like I did from home, at home with the kids, and then, 1 minute you're out doing an event, you are sometimes not taken seriously. But those are some of the things that I learned out of the Anakazi training. And then even just the exposure, I was part of the Paris team that went to France.
Awesome.
And going out there and, being with other business women and sharing their journeys and stories of how they're achieving things that they're achieving. So sometimes we are our own limitation. So I would encourage every woman, every entrepreneur, invest in yourself. Education is key. And some of the things that I'm applying now to survive as a business, as a result of the education that I've invested in myself over time. Yeah.
it was lovely to have you on that entrepreneurship training, the Anakazi entrepreneurship training. And I know you did go to France, and I saw pictures. You guys had an awesome time. Maybe you can share a bit more about your experience on that trip. I know you've talked about how you interacted with other entrepreneurs, but what is it that you picked up in your personal space as an entrepreneur, as a proprietor of Pinnacle Creations? What is it that you brought back home that you could share with our viewers?
Okay. France obviously was amazing. First, I had never been to France before the Anakazi trip, so thanks to Stanbic. Yeah, obviously the networking, and I think that networking is the backbone of an entrepreneur. You've got to have people that you can pick up the call, a phone, and call them for help or advice and so on. So the number one thing for me was the networking and the wealth of knowledge, because we just didn't go on holiday. We were actually sitting in class and learning from each other. And there was a short curricula that was put together by Stanbic concerning how to do business. And then we also had another workshop within that time where we met the ambassador of France. Yeah. And so we learned that there's so many opportunities out there, not just in Zambia. And I think it was worth the investment. And it is something that I would do again if the opportunity came up. Yeah, but it goes back to self-investment. It's, you know, I know that sometimes when there's a price tag put to it and we all think, oh no, this is too expensive. But you have to think at the end picture. What are you going to get out of it? Yeah, and like I said before, like, with every training that I've invested in myself, I've looked at what is the gap. What is the gap in my business? What is it that I'm failing? Which area do I need help with? And I always look for a training opportunity that will fill that gap for me. Yeah, so France was really just amazing. Yeah.
Lovely. I can imagine with all the training you've had, I mean, the exposure you've had, you've done training, you know, in several countries. You must be a professional in your field by now, in the events management field. What is it that you would share with us, with the viewers, about, you know, your nature of business in terms of being a professional events manager, you know, a decor person? What is it that where do you see gaps in our environment, in our market?
One of the main gaps is delivery. I strongly feel that we fail as an industry to deliver. We should be the owners of time management, but I know for a fact and through experience that there are certain vendors that will never deliver on time. And I think that compromises you, because we also need to understand that as an event entrepreneur, we are small businesses and you are your own brand. And so anything that you do literally compromises your brand. And sometimes it's unfortunate because you have the main event planner or the main event manager who has outsourced other vendors to deliver on a job. And the vendor that you picked literally compromises the whole event. And at the end of the day, that injury is to the entire event industry. You will not be picked out as, oh, the cake lady who came late or the DJ who didn't show up. You are compromising the entire event space. And that is why I think we are marginalized, or we're not taken serious as an event industry. You know, we have events that should take place and they don't take place, you know, things like that. Yeah. And so I would urge every event professional to be very, very serious with their event business. Because at the end of the day, first of all, there's food to be put on the table, and then there's your brand. I really think that that is what identifies you, that is what sets you apart from other vendors. And if we have to be an industry that stands out, like other industries, you know, in other countries, even just other industries outside of events, we have got to be professional. We have got to have integrity. You know, your yes must be yes. I will be there at 8, be there at 8, you know? Yeah, so professionalism is very, very important. Integrity is very, very important. And even being honest, deliver what you promise to deliver. Yeah, because it's unfortunate that if you deliver something that is not up to standard, you know, most of these events are once in a lifetime experience, and you can never go back to redo it. So if you ruin someone's day, you will forever be in their records as the person who did so and so. But it's unfortunate that we will all be put in that bracket as events professionals. Yeah.
Speaking of deliver on your promise, deliver what you say you will deliver. I know with this COVID pandemic, there's been issues of transportation, and in some locations you don't get certain things that you need, like flowers, you know, where you source your roses, where you source certain kind of services that you need for your events. How are you going around that? How have you adapted? How are you, positioned to manage those kind of shortfalls so that, when you deliver to your client, you deliver as you had promised?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I've had to do is to communicate to my client that we needed to import roses for you from wherever, but we cannot because obviously we don't have cargo coming in and so on. And even when we order things, even if it's not perishable things, it takes like a whole month to receive those things, and it's more expensive now to do those things. But we have also decided to work with what is available locally. And so we are working with, like local farmers, especially when it comes to like flowers. We are now working with our local farmers. And it goes back to relationships and networking, because I'm able to go back to them and explain that, look, I need the highest grade that you can give me. And they can only do that because I have a relationship with them. Yeah, so it is time to work with what you have, because it's going to take a long time before we can actually import things back in. So that is the part of the innovation, and that is part of stepping out of your comfort zone. And if you're an event professional, you're most likely to be a creative. So as creatives, you have to work with what you're given. So there's been a lot of even venue changes. Like this event should have been at a hotel, and the hotel is not having events. And now they take you outside in a football field. You have to deliver, you have to deliver. That is where your creativity comes in. That is where you step out of the box. And that is where your resilience comes in, because you have to deliver as you should have delivered. You made a commitment to this client, so you just have to deliver.
Okay, no, that's very interesting, because I've had a bit of interaction with some events vendors, and I think that's one of the issues that they've complained about, with the regarding sourcing some of their inputs for their functions. So it's good to know that you found a way to work around it, and I guess also promoting our local farmers. Well, we salute you. Thank you for that. We have to grow. I mean, even a small local farmer is an entrepreneur in its own way. So you support each other as entrepreneurs, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. And maybe to just touch a bit on, you're talking about networking and partnerships. How is it in your industry with networking and partnerships? Because obviously, even we as a bank, we are part of your network. We are part of your partners. So I'm sure you do connect to other networks as well. How is it working in your industry with regards, the ecosystems that that would make an event work in terms of sourcing inputs like flowers or other material that you need for your events?
I think this is the time when I have actually seen I've seen us as event professionals really stand with each other during this time, because there's all these cancellations and postponements. And obviously there's refunds, people have had to refund for events, which has, taken out, like working capital for someone. But this is the time when I've really seen in our event space where people have really stood up for each other. And it's really, really just encouraging to see people stand up for one another. Yeah, and there's those that are into hire, there's those that are into music, there's those that are into catering. And it's so easy now to actually go and talk to a fellow vendor and tell them, look, my event has been downsized from 250 to 50 people. These people paid me in advance. I've had to refund them. How best can you assist me? And so it's really been a healthy relationship. I haven't seen this in a while, but I can see us doing a lot of networking and standing up for each other.
Okay. Now, when you talk about refunds, I can imagine in your field it must be quite an issue, because I can imagine if I've paid you in advance.
Yeah.
You've sourced stuff for 250 people, then now I only get 50 guests at my wedding by obviously regulations. How do you deal with those kind of things? Because I must imagine as professionals, it has to be handled in a professional manner. But if you've used the money, how then do you refund your client?
Yeah, and that's what also makes the event industry very unique, because in most cases you will receive the payment before the date of the event, and it's been a challenge, but it's also been a learning curve. It's also been a time when you can actually learn your communication skills, and also this is where your integrity comes in. You know, it's a time when you've actually had to have your crucial conversations with yourself and with your clients. You know, sometimes you probably just don't even want to pick up the phone because you know where they're calling, you know? Yeah. I've had clients who've postponed, and that money is actually losing value on my end because I have other financial obligations, you know. I have my taxes and my rentals and my salaries. And, you know, this event keeps moving forward. But one of the things that has saved me is my contracts. And so if you're an event entrepreneur and you don't have your contracts in place, I'm sure by now this is something that you've actually gone back to your lawyers and, you know, asked for advice. But that is the one thing that has saved me, my contracts. Yeah. And so I would encourage every event entrepreneur to make sure your contracts are in place, because that is the one thing that will save you. But also, you also have to put yourself in the shoes of your client. It's not by choice, and even on our end, it's not by choice that this is happening. But you've got to have that conversation, the honest conversation of, are you going to have this event? When are you going to have it? Have you decided to downsize? To what numbers? I have gone to the extent of negotiating, you know, like how much longer I can take to pay back. If the amount was big, I tell them, look, you paid me so much. I cannot take it out just now because obviously time has passed and so on. Can we reach an agreement? And that has saved me because I'm being honest. But if you start promising things that you can't deliver and, you know, the money has been spent, you are putting yourself in an awkward position. So the best is to have that conversation with your client. Yes, refunds have to be done, a certain percentage maybe. Others have negotiated to carry the monies forward. If you're going to have an event, whether it's a corporate event that you're going to have maybe in future, you obviously have, you know, that budget that you have for events. Can we then negotiate to say, look, your payment was for Labor Day celebrations. Can we move this payment to Independence Day celebrations? And even with weddings or social events, we are negotiating. Look, this should have been for your bridal shower. Can we push it to your first anniversary celebration? And that is why the conversations are very important. You must have those conversations. You can't run away from it because it's reality now. Yeah,
it is the new normal.
Yeah, it is the new normal.
And you know, very good insights on that one. We appreciate that. I like when you talk about being innovative in the way you do things. Like you've talked about how you've invested in that self-education. Maybe shed a bit more light on how, as Pinnacle Creation, you know, taking that innovation to another level, especially in this COVID, or rather in the new normal. I mean, you've talked about drive-through celebrations, you're talking about virtual celebrations. What can we expect, you know, in this sphere of business from your end?
Yeah. So as Pinnacle Creations, one of the things that we actually launched last year was a program called the Business of Events. And so that was a platform to bring other event entrepreneurs in one space to share knowledge and so on. But that was mainly as a result of me having the opportunity to travel and interact with international event entrepreneurs. And I realized that there's a gap in our event market. And a lot of people do not have the privilege or the opportunity to actually travel and go out and do this training. And so we came up with a Business of Events. The first one was launched last year, and the second one should have been this year in April.
And then COVID
happened. Then COVID hit home. Yeah. But it really just created a platform for, you know, networking, healthy competitiveness in the event industry. and the desire to deliver properly with integrity and excellence in the event space. And so going forward, that is one of our innovations, and it is something that we intend to nurture and probably even break it down to much smaller groups, break it down to mentorship groups with the respective event vendors, or people that are in the event space. So anybody who's in the event space, this is something that we're working on, because I think that there's always time to give back. Yes. Everything that we've learned, at some point, we've got to give back. And so that is what the business of events was all about and is all about. We're obviously still thinking and restructuring how best we can deliver, whether we're going to go virtual or whether it's going to be one-on-one mentoring or it's going to be broken down into groups. It's something that we're working on, and we strongly feel it's something that we must still deliver because we owe it to the event space.
That's wonderful. I'm sure your giving back to the community will give a lot more back to you as well. It's a good way to go. Yeah. So maybe in closing, what is your last word to the viewers?
Okay. So events must happen, celebrations must happen, but my advice to you is you can still celebrate in an intimate way. And that is for our customers in the event space, those that we service as event entrepreneurs. So you can still celebrate, but follow the advice of your planner, your event manager, because the guidelines must be followed. We have to make sure we are distancing, we have to make sure we are sanitizing and everything possible to make sure that our event is a healthy space. And for event entrepreneurs, I encourage you to continue investing in yourself. Do not close shop. COVID is here to stay with us. And so the only way we can win is when we think outside the box and see how best we can actually deliver to our clients.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Viewers, that was Chisala Simachembele, the owner and proprietor of Pinnacle Creations. Today we have learned that there's a lot to be done in the event space. We're going virtual, we're going drive-in, there's so much to do. The issue is to partner, the issue is to innovate and to adapt to the new normal. My name is Zondiwe Chenda. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to having you on our future Anakazi online shows. Thank you.